At some stages in your life, your body can either be your best friend or your worst enemy. In this case, it's your worst enemy. Your DNA has a mutation that causes MSUD, also known as maple syrup urine disease. This is a rarely talked about disease and needs to have more exposure, as it is very dangerous and life-threatening and can affect you in some ways that you might not know. We have special guest, Dr. Angelo, to talk to us more about this life-threatening disease. Oh, hi, Billie Trapp here, on the scene with Angelo, who just discovered a massive breakthrough on how he could possibly permanently cure MSUD. Dr. Angelo, how does one acquire this disease? Is it a genetic gene, or can it be caught like the flu?
It's actually an extremely rare autosomal recessive genetic disorder. It can only be passed down when both parents have it, and it's passed down in a homozygous recessive genotype.
How does it affect how proteins function in the human body?
MSUD itself does not affect protein synthesis or the making of proteins. The error occurs when the mRNA is replicating the DNA strand and goes into the ribosome. There's a mutation on that mRNA strand, which encodes for a protein that doesn't work at all.
On May 30th, 2004, the Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh became the first ever hospital to perform a successful liver transplant to cure symptoms of MSUD. The first child to ever undergo the surgery was 4-year-old Jacob Jason. Jacob suffered with MSUD since he was born, and his parents were looking for a way to make him better. When the Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh offered a liver transplant, the Jason's family took up the offer. Jacob has lived a fearful life not only for him, but for his parents too. Constant care has to be taken for young Jacob. The family couldn't go on vacations in fear of metabolic crisis or eating the wrong food. On May 30th, 2004, Jacob's operation was a success, and he named his new liver Tommy. Age 5 in 2005, he was showing excellent results and was free of any symptoms of MSUD and living a happy, healthy life without the fear of this disease catching up to him. Doctors said without this transplant, Jacob would have had to follow a strict diet for the rest of his life, and even then, he would still have a risk for a metabolic crisis at any time. Jacob's parents couldn't stand to go through the loss that other parents of MSUD children had to go through. She says this surgery flipped Jacob's life around and is grateful every second for the treatment.
MSUD is caused by a lack of special enzymes in the stomach which help process and break down amino acids. Due to mutation in the gene that codes for the branched-chain alpha-keto acid dehydrogenase complex, certain amino acids start to build up throughout the body. The three that start to build up are leucine, isoleucine, and valine. These three amino acids can start to become toxic to your organs and alter their function.
Maple syrup urine disease is caused by a deficiency in certain enzymes, specifically the branched-chain alpha-keto acid dehydrogenase complex, which is required to break down the three branched-chain amino acids leucine, isoleucine, and valine in the body. The branched-chain alpha-keto acid dehydrogenase complex, also known as BCKDC, is a mitochondrial complex that, with multiple enzymes that catalyzes a series of reactions that form the first irreversible step in the process of breaking these down.
Elevated leucine levels are responsible for brain injury and neurological symptoms that help characterize this disease. Neurons, other brain cells, and liver cells are some of the major groups of cells that can be affected.
Although a rare autosomal disease, many people still have it. We have one story from a woman named Urla who is now an adult that suffered from MSUD. Having a normal birth, there was nothing to indicate that Urla would be any different than the typical baby. But after less than a week, her parents started to notice things. Urla started to become less responsive and no longer wailed with hunger, even after not being fed all night. The family decided to take her to the hospital, where they were unable to treat her because of a lack of technology. Urla continued to have seizures all throughout this process, and in all went to 3 hospitals before she found a place that could help, all in one day. The family had no answers, as MSUD is extremely rare and not many, even professionals, know about it. Now in a coma, she eventually made it to Philadelphia. She was eventually released from the hospital after 3 weeks of her short 4-week life. Erla, now 23, however, did not escape unscathed. She suffered from brain damage, which causes her to be dependent on her family for everything, although she does work for them. By the time she finished school, she had an average education level of a 5th grader. Erla's story is one of many that should not be forgotten so that we can remember just how harmful this disease is.
Thanks for watching 6 Minutes with Billie Trapp. Thank you to our special guest, Dr. Nick Angelo, and our narrator, Zach Sherman. Tune in next time when we talk about the heredity of, like, frogs and stuff.
Maple syrup urine disease is not something to be joked about. It can be very harmful to the human body. This is a sample of what maple syrup urine looks like.